Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Professor Richard Conroy, Chairman of Karelian Diamond Resources. Welcome back, Richard. How's life treating you?
Well, life is certainly treating us very well at the present moment. We're in a very happy state of mind with this report back from Larry Hatber with nickel and possibility of copper and also platinum. So it's a very nice time, I must say, for us. We're delighted.
Absolutely, yeah. You're alluding to the recent company announcement on the 24th of June that an independent report by Dr. Larry Hulbert confirmed the potential for nickel, copper and platinum group elements in its Northern Ireland licence area. Dr. Hulbert, a renowned expert in PGE, nickel, copper sulfide and other mineralizations, noted similarities to rich geological formations like North America's mid-continental rift systems and flood basalts in Russia and China. The report identified several targets for follow-up exploration and establishes a comprehensive database incorporating geological, geochemical and geophysical data. You highlighted the encouraging geological parallels with world-class discoveries, underscoring the significant potential for major finds on Karelian's licenses. Sounds like quite the bold statement, Richard.
It is. We had hoped it might come back as a good, encouraging report from the work that our own geologists had done and the results that we'd already had back from various laboratories. But certainly this report is very, very positive indeed, and draws our attention to various other areas of the world and structures which we wouldn't be familiar with, but which Larry pointed out are very similar to what we're now seeing in the north of Ireland. So it's a tremendously encouraging report and a tremendously encouraging situation. We're very, very pleased with it. We knew from our own results that this could be very interesting. We didn't realize just potentially how big it could be. So it's very, very pleasing.
Yeah. So this report that's highlighted these geological similarities to, let's pick out the Eagle and Eagle East deposits, which you also referenced in the RNS. Can you just elaborate on the significance of these similarities for how Karelian might plan their exploration strategy?
Well, he has suggested to us, and we absolutely fully agree, that we use the Eagle mine, the Eagle deposit, and that geological structure as our model. And this is something very important in exploration, to have a model that you can follow. No two ore bodies are ever the same, but nonetheless, there are certain sort of groups or types of deposit. And if you're following up that, if you have a very specific target, this is enormously helpful in deciding the model which you will use in your exploration. The tools that you'll use are stream sediment sampling and drilling and whatever other work you do, geophysics, will obviously remain the same. But we're looking at an area which is over 750 square kilometers in size. So to have your targets, and he has helped with that as well in suggesting a number of targets, have to be able to focus in. 750 square kilometers may not seem all that big, but when you're out there as a prospector or a geologist, it is a very large area indeed. So it's very important in your actual exploration work to be focused in it and to have a very similar target, and then to relate the rocks, the geology, the general situation which exists out in the Eagle mine to the local situation where we're looking for something similar.
Yeah,
It's especially big area, Richard, when it's pouring down with rain in the middle of June as well. It's a very, very big area. Sorry. Just to let everybody know, I visited the place where they took the samples from in the river, which then came back. That's where my joke is, and for sure, it was a beautiful summer's day in Ireland. It was pouring down with rain. So yeah.
No, I was just alluding to at the top of the show there, Richard, that I'm really glad you organised that weather for Kev. It was a really good job you did there. I think you chose the most miserable day you could possibly have chosen. And Kev was very well equipped, in his T-shirt and jeans or whatever he wore.
Yeah. I think you were mentioning there as you're looking at one of the streams and along one of the rivers that really you didn't need to step into the river to have plenty of water coming down on top of you and so on. Typical Irish weather, and we're delighted to have brought it on for you.
Yeah, but it was very interesting when the geologists there were doing a bit of panning for stuff and showing us the things that they'd been pointed out when the assays had gone to the labs in Canada. I mean, how did this actually come about? Because basically you were looking for something else and they told you, no, you want to be looking for this. So how did that all happen?
It all happens, as a lot of these things do, very simply. We're obviously familiar with the overall situation here in Ireland, the guys who've worked internationally for many years. But at the same time, they're very familiar with the local geology and aware of it. And we had two things, really. Some chaps, not our company, but some from another company some years back, had done some general prospecting and come across quite a lot of kimberlitic type results, which was interesting and not very explainable. And then, as well as that, there was a history of the discovery of a diamond in the area. And if there is a diamond, since we do quite a lot of work and very successful work in Finland in relation to diamonds, it seemed to, maybe that's the explanation of the kimberlites. We had theories about it, but we felt, well, it's in our own backyard, and these results have come out, laboratory results, and there is this history of a diamond discovery and so on. Let's see what it's all about. So we set up a program there to take stream sediment samples over the area. We were obviously not expecting necessarily to find a diamond, but diamonds are associated with kimberlites. But perhaps more important in this respect, nickel and copper platinum can be associated with very, very similar geochemical elements. So our guys did their various sampling exercises. It didn't rain all the time, by the way, but geologists and prospectors are used to being out in all sorts of weather. They carried out a very comprehensive stream sediment sampling program and got a lot of quite interesting looking samples. So we picked these out and sent them off to ODM laboratories in Canada, which are a leading laboratory in kimberlite work. And they came back to us to say, these look as though they could have come from a very high level nickel situation, nickel copper platinum situation. Certainly nothing to do with diamonds, but they look very much as though they could be associated with nickel. So we thought, well, okay, let's follow this up in a methodical manner. And looking at the geology, the chaps said to us, look, we need 2 more license areas to look at this properly, to carry out a full upstream sampling survey. And we duly got those licenses. Geologists carried out their sampling survey over the area, and we sent off these very comprehensive set of samples now, again, to the laboratories. And the results all confirmed had been seen in the first initial samples that we'd sent off. So very clearly, we were onto something that could be of significant size in relation to nickel, also copper potential, which could be very important, and as well as that, platinum group elements were present, or indicators of the presence. So we were very fortunate in that already on a board we have a distinguished geologist, Howard Bird, and he said to us, well, you really need to get one of the leading experts in the field. It's a totally new area you're looking at. And we were very fortunate in that he introduced us to Dr. Hedberg, Larry Hedberg, who is perhaps many people would regard him as the leading person in relation to nickel, copper and platinum associations. He very kindly agreed to consider the situation. I think it's fair to say he found it very interesting and indeed exciting. And he carried out an extremely comprehensive survey. It took him quite a long time to do it. But the summary of his results is seen in the news release we just brought out. And that confirms that there is potential, and perhaps very significant potential, in Northern Ireland for nickel, copper and platinum group elements. And as well as that, it gives us a specific target, the Eagle Mine in the United States, which seems very, very similar in its geological structure to what we're looking at, where you went out and made a site visit yourself, Kevin. So it's a very exciting situation, very obviously at a very early stage, but we certainly couldn't have asked for more encouraging results and a more encouraging assessment of the results and of the potential which we now know exists in Northern Ireland on our licence area and that there are a number of targets indeed on our license area, and we'll be following all of this up, of course, in due course. Like we're already doing so. We're very, very, very excited, very happy. We're already in a situation with Karelian, which we've done some very interesting work in Finland, very successful work. But this is a whole new edition, and in itself, indeed, could be a really major situation. And so we're assessing it now, and we're very, very pleased. We couldn't be more pleased. Actually.
Yeah, well, it seems now the company has two prongs, if you like. You have the diamonds, which we're waiting, I think, is at the 14th of August, and hopefully that will be the final process for the license to be given, the mining license for the diamonds and the kimberlites that you've got there in Finland. And then I presume the next step is then Dr. Hulbert's identified quite a few areas that he thinks that you should start to investigate further. So when can we expect that work will begin?
That work is already beginning in the sense of people going out doing the actual prospecting in the areas, and then that will be followed up by stream sediment sampling, possibly soil sampling, and then in turn by deep overburden sampling, and in due course by excavation and drilling. So the process is starting already. Obviously, our chaps are busily assessing the report and all the implications of it, and I hope we'll continue our association with Dr. Hatberg in the course of our exploration program.
How many targets roughly did Dr. Hulbert identify?
Not going to go into detail on the exact number of targets, but let me say that there are several targets, but perhaps the most important thing is the actual potential size of the targets, indicating the possibility of a large-sized deposit. We have a lot more work to do on that, defining them and so on, as I was mentioning, but certainly it's very, very encouraging.
And could you just, so everybody understands, his comparison to the world-class Eagle and Eagle East nickel copper platinum group deposit, how big a deposit is that?
Very big deposit, indeed. So
I mean,
if we make one discovery that equals that, we'd be very happy bunnies indeed.
Yes. It's now operated by Lundin, I believe. I think Lundin, the Canadian-based miner, they acquired it, the Eagle mine, from Rio, didn't they, back in 2013?
It's very, very, very nice indeed. So it's very good, but we'll obviously been looking at the overall picture further and going into specifics now. We have the general outline. Now we move into the program. But this is how we've tended to try to look at things in which, not in a research manner or not in a too speculative manner, but try to look at things just a little bit differently. If you're a small group, you don't have the financial resources, you don't have the huge data banks, you don't have the very large numbers of personnel that a major company will have. And so therefore you have to decide, well, how are you going to succeed? And the way to succeed is to look at things just that little bit differently and see, is there something which, as Dr. Hatberg was saying, may seem very obvious later on, but at the time, because people had fixed ideas and views about things and hadn't realized the significance of later developments, perhaps, that as a group looking carefully at the opportunities, and we've done it, the management group have done it already in zinc, we've done it in gold, and we've also looked at it now in nickel and copper, and this could really be very big indeed. But it's very nice. As well as that, let me say, you always need a big slice of luck. Very important.
Indeed. And just to give people a little overview of visit, this place is not far from the whole area is in County Fermanagh in Enniskillen, which they do call the lakes, and obviously it has to rain quite a lot for it to be lakes. So Fermanagh is well recognized as a pretty wet place. But that aside, really the interesting part about all of this area is that it really is just green fields and farms. There is nothing in this 750 kilometer area that is industrial, maybe some small villages possibly, but ultimately it is right to be looked at as a mining area if all comes to fruition. And it looks not very likely, but it looks that all the identifiers are there to say, that we do have a nickel copper PGM resource of some description. So we wish you luck over the next
Thank you very
months
much.
and years as this is developed. I'm sure you will take it so far, and then you will need somebody with big pockets again, or deep pockets to forward the whole thing again. But certainly now I see Karelian, going on 2 different tracks, and that's very encouraging in terms of everything. And we look forward to speaking to you in the not too distant future about the diamonds in Finland, because I think
So it's all eyes looking towards the 12th of August as the Finnish Land Court obviously announces their final judgment on the land possession claim. So we'll look forward to having you back on.
In connection with that, that's for the development of the Lähtioki deposit. I don't think people have fully taken on board the success of the diamond exploration program that we have in Finland. To discover an actual diamond during till sampling is a highly unusual event. And the fact that the discovery was a green diamond was very important, because colored diamonds are now much more valuable than clear diamonds. And the follow-up there is very, very encouraging indeed. And the object of the exercise there, of course, is to make a major diamond discovery. It's not all that far from the Lomonosov discovery, which is the second largest diamond discovery in the world. I'm not saying we've reached that, but we've certainly got a very encouraging diamond exploration program out in Finland. It's taken a long time, but it's very advanced at this stage. So we're not solely depending upon the court ruling in relation to the development of the Lähtioki deposit. It's looking forward to getting it, obviously, and proceeding with it. But there's a lot more to our program out there than simply the Lähtioki deposit. And the chaps there deserve full credit for the work that they've done.
very good.
Very good. On that note, we'll say Professor Richard Conroy, Chairman of Karelian Diamonds, thanks very much for your time.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.